Welcome back to another episode of Spotlight on the Arts, brought to you by the Chicopee Cultural Council and Chicopee TV. I'm Johnny Miranda, your host for the evening, and today we have an amazing show. You'll get to meet an R&B singer from our region who is definitely making waves in the music scene. Let's welcome D.Martin. D, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited that you're here. I am actually a fan. I follow you. I hear your music. I love what you've been doing in your performances. The last performance I saw online was you in the Pride Fest.
Yes.
But you have had many other performances as well. I love that you are very active online. Tell us about what inspired you to get into music?
Yeah, so for starters, I go by my artist name, D.Martin. I was born and raised in Sonia, Connecticut. I come from a very musical family. I was raised in the church, every Sunday. Had to go to Sunday school and, the whole 9 yards. My father, was always my biggest singing inspiration. He was actually in a singing group for the church called the Electric Praise. And he literally electrified the church every Sunday. And I always looked up to how he was able to demand everyone's attention through his voice. So I always looked up to that, and I would go home and try to copy, replicate his sound until I kind of developed my own. And so I grew up on gospel, and I'm an R&B singer, and been writing and singing ever since.
What's your favorite? What's your favorite style of music aside from the ones that you perform?
Style? As far as style, I'm very R&B. I like to mix it up. Add some pop influences, and sometimes there's a little rock too. But as far as
I've liked that about the videos I have seen and the performances that you've had is how versatile your performances are and the rhythms and the music. Yeah. It's very varied, so it caters to a wider audience.
Yeah.
What has been your favorite performance so far?
I would have to say every year it gets better. This year I was actually, like you mentioned, I was excited to perform at Six Flags at the Pride Fest. So that was actually I feel like that was
a good highlight.
Yeah, it was a good highlight in my career from when it comes to singing and performing. So it was really exciting, the roller coasters and, the people stopping and watching you perform. And it was just, the experience was just great.
You mentioned about your dad electrifying the audience and when he got on stage. How does that reflect in you and your performances when you move around on stage? And tell us about that.
I feel like I've come a long way. So I've always been, from a child, I was always scared to sing. My father was he'll always try to push me. And also I come from a musical family. My sister sings, my uncle, he plays the piano, the organ for the church, and he sings. And, so I've always had that direction, and I kind of learned from them. But, when it came to applying it myself, I had to really, take a leap of, faith and courage just to do it. So I feel like I was always in the right, I was always around the right people, and as far as my father goes. So they're my biggest influences. But yeah, I just feel like I just have to. I'm becoming my own artist, so I'm kind of just learning how to do it. I guess on my own. I just getting out there and just.
So definitely it helps that you have had such great influences in your career and that you have had family to support that. What can you tell those young people that are wanting to step out of the box, that want to overcome their fear, they want to start singing or start expressing themselves in any other artistic way? How can you tell them, how can you motivate them to do that?
I feel like I've been there. I was completely terrified to sing in front of, when I was young, I could barely sing in front of even my immediate family. So it was scary. But because of I was so passionate and the desire to sing was so strong in my heart. I had to, choose. I had to make a choice. It's like either you're going to make yourself uncomfortable, get yourself out there, or you have to let it go. So my passion outweighed, any of my fears. So
Was it scary? Was it scary to sing because you feared judgment from people that you had so highly, or was it fear because you were bashful and like didn't want the compliments really?
I feel it's a little of both because, as a kid, I was kind of a little more guarded, introverted, like to myself. So it was hard, like being vulnerable, I guess, and just kind of like sharing yourself and like having all the eyes on you. And I'm just not used to it. So I guess it was like, in a way, uncomfortable, but I definitely pushed myself. So that's one quality I admire about myself is that I'm brave.
So D.Martin is not just a performer; he is also a songwriter, right?
Yeah.
You write your lyrics. What is the theme, or what is a topic that motivates you to write? What do you like to write about?
Well, it started off with just love, I guess. Like I was writing a lot of love songs, and then it kind of like I've been writing since I was like 19. So that's when I really started to, really dabble with, writing my own songs. And it started off just like my heart is just filled with love. Like I just like to write about love, and then from there it just kind of branched out. I went into other, personal things in my life, and, started to, branch out in the things that I talk about. But yeah, that's really where it stems from. So
Yeah, definitely. Your experiences have an impact in what you produce artistically. Yeah. So does that mean that when we listen to D.Martin's music, we get to know more of you as a person and as an artist by listening?
Oh, definitely, yes. I feel like I've gotten a lot more personal over the years, and I started to, because like I mentioned, I've been afraid to be vulnerable, but I feel like it really helps. Yeah. It helps me. It's very therapeutic for me, yeah. And also I know that I may be possibly helping someone else that may have been going through the same situation. So I like to write about like my personal life and
be an example, be a role model. Things you go through and
yes.
How you dealt with it. Maybe somebody else can deal with it in the same way.
Yeah,
and that helps. D.Martin, you have a new EP coming out.
Yes.
Alicia.
Well, EP. That was my first EP.
Your first
that
EP
I released.
was Alicia.
Yeah, and then I'm working on my second one.
And that one is Experiment.
No, that's a single from it's a single from off my first album. But yeah, my second EP should be released like early next year. So awesome. I'm excited about that.
So. What's your favorite song out of Alicia? And tell us why Alicia.
Yeah, so the album is called Alicia, and I feel like this is my first body of work. So for me, it was just a full circle moment because I spent so long, over the years working on my craft, developing myself as an artist, perfecting my craft, taking singing lessons, and really getting myself out there and performing. And this is, during the quarantine, I had, like all of us, we had so much time to ourselves for self-reflection. And, I turned, not so positive, moment into, something positive. And I started to write. And I was writing so much, I was like, I'm gonna turn this into an album. So I didn't really have a clear direction of what I wanted to go with this album, but I was like, okay, let me just, go to the studio, make this album, and I feel like, it was full circle, and it represents strength, it represents my courage, and it represents, what D.Martin embodies, and that's, and all the qualities are what my mother had. So
Alicia is your mother.
Alicia's my mother. Yes, and
wow,
that's what it represents.
Amazing.
Strength, courage, bravery, just,
That's amazing. That's amazing. And where can our audience stream your music? Where can we go listen to Alicia and all the wonderful creations you have for us there?
So you can find me on all music platforms, Spotify, Apple, yes.
I just remembered, you made the top on iTunes list, right?
Yes, I did. I mean,
Tell us about
remember-
that. That must have
Yeah,
happened.
I
That
mean,
feel.
I'm excited. I feel like it was exciting. I still feel like, in my music career, I'm still like scratching the surface, but it was such a, I'm very grateful for people that are actually receiving my music.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
are really listening. Like on Spotify, I have close to 70,000 streams. And I'm like, wow, it may not seem like a lot to others, but it's a huge milestone to me as an artist. So I'm
It
very,
definitely is.
I'm excited.
It definitely is.
Yes.
Well, we are definitely going to put on the screen information for you to be able to stream D.Martin's music. And where can people find you on social media so that they can follow you and stay up to date with your performances and your music and all that?
Well, my main platform that I use to promote my music is my Instagram. So you can find my Instagram. The handle is 2_D.Martin 2_. Again, 2_ D.Martin 2_.
You're definitely going to see that in the bottom of
The screen. D.Martin, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for accepting the invitation to come to Spotlight on the Art. Our audience is in for a treat when they get to hear your music and perform. And definitely, I want to thank you for being an inspiration for young people out there, for having been at the Pride Fest and also representing community there. So I really thank you for all that you're doing. I wish you much success with your new EP when it comes out. I hope that you continue to reach higher milestones with Alicia. And anything you'd like to say to your audience?
Yeah, so new music is coming soon. And yeah, make sure you follow. New music is coming. Everything you need to know about my music is there. And thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure, and hopefully we can do this again.
Definitely will. All right, everyone. So we want to thank you, our audience, for watching. I'm glad that you have met D.Martin and have tuned in for another episode of Spotlight on the Arts. And now I'm going to leave you with a performance by the one and only D.Martin. And I will see you next time.
Experimental and normal ain't enough. No more time for waiting.